Okay, I'm on the 4th. Oh my god. It looks like I've got hardly any battery left on this device now. It's like one half a bar or something. So I'm going to try and keep this short. Maybe I'll get a few minutes, but because if it stops, I don't think it. You could be talking for an hour, and then if the battery runs out, I don't know if it stores what you've done, or not. Anyway, today's the 12th. It's Saturday, the 12th of July. 12th, 13, yeah. Monday's the 14th, and then I'm back for the last day on the 15th, Tuesday. And I had to do a recording. I guess just to put on the digital record. The kind of messy end to my internship. I've been in a loop with this that's just kind of passed. I'm okay now, but I've been in a terrible loop with it for the last 2 days, so I don't want to get back into the loop, if you know what I mean. So I'll try and just say it quickly. At Thursday in Carrefour at around 11 o'clock, I was already thinking that Flo wasn't going to be there Friday, and it was going to be difficult with Tuco because I have to get up at 5. I don't know how I was going to walk him or anything, and the thought just occurred to me, well, you could take off Friday because it's an internship. I mean, who would care? Just say you've you don't need to do any more, you've done enough. And at 11 I was quite fed up and bored and everything, so I thought, oh fuck it, I'm going to do it now. So I found Victoria, I don't know her name, and I said I'm going to leave now, and I thought that would be okay, but she kind of got all annoyed and said, you signed a contract, you can't go, you have to stay, you have to work tomorrow. I can't talk to you now, I have to go. And she was all pissed off about a situation, even though I thought she wouldn't give a shit. I really thought it'd be just like, yeah, sure, no problem, go ahead. Thanks. I wouldn't have been surprised if she'd said, and by the way, you did a good job. If you ever need some part-time work or whatever, give us a call. I was expecting the opposite. So I went home, told Flo, and then Flo agreed with the Carrefour. I washed the 2 t-shirts, the red ones, and then I thought I have to go straight back to Carrefour because I hadn't really got any closure with this. So I went back and I met the same woman and I apologized. I said I didn't understand the contract, I'm sorry, I thought it would be okay to leave a bit early. And then I said I did work 3 days, can I have and she said, she didn't move from the desk, so I'm pretty sure she was like, no, you broke the contract, so it doesn't matter about those days, you're not getting anything. That's kind of the gist of it, you broke the contract, so I'm not sending those days to French Travail, which is really annoying. But I was just so happy to get out of the place, I didn't care. It's only afterward I started to think, God, why would she do that, this woman? Why would she choose to make things difficult for me when it seemed to be such a simple thing for her just to write down, yeah, he's leaving today, but he worked the first 3 days, and give me back the form to give to my teacher. It's one of those things, the more you think about it, the more you kind of think, God, I can't find any reason for her acting like that. But so that's annoyed me. I've been in a loop, and it's spoiled the weekend, really. What should have been a celebration, I think. A celebration of me finishing the French course, getting the certificate, doing a good job, finding an internship, turning up for the internship even in a fucking crazy hour, and doing the best I could, and everything went so well, but it seemed to finish bad for me. I even called Grazia, the teacher, to explain the situation. This was before I returned to Carrefour, and I told Grazia, you know, what happened. And I even asked Grazia if would it be possible for her to talk to someone in Carrefour, explain I didn't understand, and maybe they could send her that I was hoping for this. But she was like, no, I don't think that'd be difficult for me to call. And her, like I'm sure everybody else is going to be, it's like, oh yeah, but it was a contract. There's no flexibility or no humanity or anything and stuff like that. You have to follow the thing, you know. Anyway, that's that. It bothered me, and I've been kind of fucked up for the last few days. Paranoid a bit about things. You know, I met Patrice, and he said something to me, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and I thought maybe he said, were you drinking? I don't know why I thought he said that. Were you drinking something? And I thought, Jesus, does he think I'm drunk or something? And that bothered me. Fucking crazy stuff. But then today, Saturday afternoon, I just came across a little short YouTube video. It was just 1 second. It was mainly just a piece of text, and it was about guys that they just stare into space because they're kind of so upset about stuff or stressed. They just sit in a room and they're beyond being distracted by anything. They just have to sit and stare at the walls for an hour till whatever passes. Then I started talking to Gemini, the AI, and I asked about what again is the main philosophy about people suffering an existential crisis and depression, and what did Nietzsche say about that, and what did Albert Camus say about that, and what did Eckhart Tolle. So I got a summary of all of these ideas, and that's kind of what I wanted to go with today, because that brought me a little bit of lightness, just listening. The notion that life is kind of meaningless, and there isn't really any plan, and that stuff happens, and you need to give yourself some value and some worth, because nothing else will. And you have to try not to be resentful. That's actually, I feel resentment now for that woman, I must say. It's that thing where you feel you're in the right about something, and that someone has mistreated you, and you want to get justice. It's kind of stupid, because it's a pathetic thing, you know. I didn't even expect to be paid for this course, the French course. I've already got a lot of money I didn't expect to get from French Travail. I shouldn't be too greedy. So I shouldn't, but she was, to put it bluntly, see what I mean, I'm back into the fucking loop. She was a bitch. Anyway, the whole point of the philosophy and all that was to put this in the past, to kind of treat it like it's an insect, and that it has no merit and no value, and nothing much in the future for me has any merit or value. It doesn't really matter whether I get a job. It doesn't matter actually if I'm dead or alive, to look at this kind of stoicism properly and Nietzsche. What matters is how I go about my life from day to day. I give myself some meaning. I try to rise above what Eckhart Tolle would say, the psychological traps of being mentally stuck in the past or anxious about the future, you know, things that either are finished or things that don't exist. And I try to put things in their place, try to realize there's no point in regurgitating stuff in my mind, because there's no kind of point to it. I'm not trying to solve a problem with this stuff. It's done and it's finished, and like I said to myself earlier, I've been going over dialogue in my head about what I say to everybody on Tuesday. You know, trying to figure out what can I say to make it and then I just thought, well, why would you have to say anything? Who gives a shit? You can say nothing. You can just say, yeah, I fucked up, I left early, made a mistake. And then if someone says, are you going to get paid? Just say, no, I'm not. But then again, I wasn't expecting to get paid for anything. So, and leave it like that. You don't need to spend like the whole weekend with this stupid fucking monologue going around in my head. I need to care less. I keep saying this to myself. It's become my mantra. I need to care less on so many fronts. And life is chaotic, and life is... You bring your own meaning, and like Camus said, it's pointless, but you can bring your own meaning by helping other people or by trying to do decent things. These ideas with Nietzsche and these philosophers, they're quite Christian in a certain sense. They're not like nihilistic, you know. But I want to take what I can from anybody I can to try and get my head out of this swampy, sickly feeling that ends up with the... well, my stomach is constantly bloated at the moment, I don't know why. But a feeling of something slightly strangling you in your throat, and a feeling of your guts being kind of knotted up, you know, because of the stress. And I know, of course, when all of this is finished, there will be the question about, yeah, but I'm going to be back to square one. It's going to be getting up in the morning with Flo looking at me with a frown, telling me in no uncertain terms that I have to get a job and making me feel fucking awful. But I have to learn to play lip service. All of this stuff, by the way, is not in any way new. These theories that I know about, they're decades old. They're very easy to write down and talk about, but they're fucking hard to implement. I mean, implement them in your soul. Implement them in your very soul so that you feel yourself starting to just get light and lighter and become more carefree and, if possible, fearless. And that's what I'm working on today. It's kind of why I'm doing this walk. It's to try and just dwell on the thought instead of the usual dwelling on bullshit. To dwell on a nice big thought like it's all kind of pointless and meaningless, or nobody really gives a shit. There's nobody where you're on their agenda except maybe your mother, who thinks about you much, and even your mother has probably better things to do. So there's no importance to it. It's I could go back to that dream in Narbonne when I was in class, and I was just going through the motions, kind of doing a wonderful act, but not giving a shit about anything. And it was the way. I am not the mind, I'm not the body, it's nothing to do with my thinking, and none of the stuff matters. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you do something to yourself to give yourself a lift, to get your spirit kind of lifting off a little bit, so that you can simply enjoy the time. And you can take all these things, incorporate them into yourself somehow to make yourself stronger. It's another one of these philosophical theories. Nietzsche says whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. He says we should embrace these things instead of trying to run away from them. So I may stop there. I've spoken for nearly 15 minutes. And to be honest, I don't want to go on and on about this stuff because I've already given it far too much attention. It's the whole point of the philosophy I'm trying to instill in myself. I want to be high. That is that is a very, very great way of putting everything into a tiny sentence. I want to be high.